Welcome to the Patriots Pulse Preview Show. I'm your host, John Serenitas, and as always, I'm joined by my partner, John Sapichetti. John, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, John, and happy divisional round weekend. This is the best weekend in sports. You get two games on Saturday, two games on Sunday, and we decide who's going to meet in the AFC and NFC championship games. This is my favorite weekend of the sports calendar.
Yeah, people say that, and my good buddy Mark Capello posted that too on Facebook. I don't know why people love it so much. I don't get as excited about it as other people do. I do, and I've been on record as saying I think the NFL playoffs are the best playoffs of the four major sports in North America. I just think the single elimination part of it, I hate series. I think they're drawn out. I think the most overrated sporting event in our society is a game 7. Why the hell do you need 7 games to figure it out? But whatever, that's a topic for another conversation. But yeah, I've never understood why people get so excited about it, or why they're so passionate about calling it the best weekend of the year.
Well, in this case, you have 6 teams that won last week. Then you have the 2 teams that received the byes. And you, in theory, think you have the 8 best teams in football, which I think we do. I mean, this divisional round, I think, pits the 8 best teams in football. The teams that got eliminated last week had more flaws than they did. So we have the 8 best teams in football, all different stories. You know, is Josh Allen going to win his first Super Bowl? The answer to that is obviously no. But what other young quarterbacks are going to step up? I mean, you're going to see Jarrett Stidham all of a sudden playing in the AFC Championship game, which blows my mind. I tweeted out after the second game yesterday that, you know, the way the NFL has been so wacky this year, how about a Jarrett Stidham versus Jimmy Garoppolo Super Bowl? Garoppolo backs up Matt Stafford, and the way things have gone, who knows? Maybe Garoppolo comes in and wins this game against Chicago or next week against Seattle, and it's Garoppolo against Stidham in the Super Bowl. That would be nuts. But it's just the uncertainty of the teams, the flaws the teams have, because there is no super team, although what we saw from the Seattle Seahawks last night, they look like the team to beat for sure, right? Because they're the most balanced team, offense, defense, special teams. They look like a wagon right now.
Yeah, I think they're the best team in a bad lot, to be honest with you. And this is not a knock on the Patriots or anybody else. This is far from a loaded field. You don't have a clear favorite, which we've talked about. I think the last few years, obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs would fall under that category. Philadelphia Eagles looked like the clear favorite last year. For years, it was the Patriots. You didn't have that going into these playoffs. I still don't think you do. I'm not impressed by any of these teams. I thought Seattle looked good last night against a banged-up 49ers team. If that San Francisco team is fully healthy, I think that's a completely different game. We'll see what the Patriots have today. Look, you know what? You beat the Chargers last week, and it was a dominant performance, but you didn't play great on offense. I mean, that game, you scored your own lone touchdown on the game late. They're going to need to play much better offensively today than they did last week. I think if Nico Collins plays and the weather's not a factor, this I wouldn't call it a toss-up game, but it could go either way potentially. Patriots will clearly be the favorites in this one. And even tonight, you know, a lot of people think the Rams don't have a shot because they're going to Chicago. It's supposed to be cold and all this other stuff. The Rams are the better football team. And at the end of the day, if they come to play and they execute, the weather shouldn't be a factor. And we know one thing for sure, Caleb Williams is the most inconsistent quarterback left in these playoffs. Who knows what he's going to do in the first half? If he comes out lights out, the Bears have a good shot of winning. If he does what he does most weeks, which is struggle in the first half, they probably lose. So it really is. It's here. The thing for me is it's not as good a field as we're used to seeing, but at the same time, you still have teams, specifically in the NFC in Seattle and Los Angeles, that have been there a bunch in recent years that you can now start to say, to your point, hey, they might be the favorite.
Yeah, and the consensus 4 best quarterbacks in football are all out, right? I mean, going into the season, we all felt that Burrow, Mahomes, Allen, and Jackson, the 4 best quarterbacks in football, and they had off years and they didn't make the playoffs, but they've had more sustained success than the young guys. I think Drake May certainly is going to be joining that group next year at some point, but we still have to see that. All those guys are out. So now you got Jarrett Stidham against hopefully Drake May in the AFC Championship game. You got Sam Darnold, who people still don't trust, is going to be in the NFC Championship game against, in all likelihood, and hopefully Matthew Stafford, because I have tickets on the Rams to win the NFC and the Super Bowl.
So you don't get this on any other pregame show. They'll play cuts and they'll go and do their little round table thing, and they'll use their radio voices and they'll say stupid shit. You don't get that here. Here, you get You get unabated, pure football talk, including Sapp announcing to the world that he's a degenerate gambler.
Degenerate gambler, and I love quarterbacks, and that's pretty
Yes.
much basically.
Yes.
And I listen to Dua
Very
Lipa.
childish affinity for quarterbacks, too,
Oh
might I
yeah,
add.
I'm basically a 17-year-old girl. I mean, I listen
Yeah.
to Dua Lipa, I listen to Ariana Grande, Rihanna. Yeah, so and I
Right.
like
Terrible
quarterbacks. So
music choices. Yep.
well, it's
You don't,
I
yeah, you give young people way too much credit. I think a
oh
lot
yeah.
of people in those age demographics are dopes.
Well,
I
okay,
mean,
so this young people aren't running the NFL. Old people are running the NFL, right? Roger Goodell's older than me. Here's a suggestion to Roger Goodell as far as the playoffs going forward. First of all, let's get rid of the Monday night wild card game. That thing is just useless. That didn't even feel like a wild card game last week, right? I mean, it was 7-6
well,
going
but
to the fourth quarter.
and I'm not I don't disagree with you, by the way, but I do want to step in here. I think ESPN's Monday Night Football coverage sucks. To be quite honest with you, I think it effing blows. I think the sound is off. The picture quality sucks. I can't stand the intro with Chris Stapleton and Snoop Dogg. It's the stupidest collaboration in history. So, in fairness, I don't disagree with you that I'd rather they not play that Monday night playoff game. It's not going to go away anytime soon, John. You know that they're in bed with ESPN.
Well, here's my
But
suggestion. I
I
have
think
suggestions.
ESPN's product sucks.
Well, I think the game itself with Buck and Aikman is really good. I love those two guys together. I think it's the number one broadcast team in all of football. I'm a huge Aikman fan because he's one former quarterback who's not afraid to criticize quarterbacks. I mean, all day yesterday, Josh Allen's underthrowing people, overthrowing people, fumbling, throwing interceptions, and Tony Romo's blaming the wide receivers for running the wrong route every single time. I mean, that's what you get with Tony Romo. But what I would do is get rid of the Monday night game, and you can make this up financially by having 3 wild card games on Saturday, 3 on Sunday. Now, I'd add a couple of twists to that, John. First of all, the 3 games on Saturday would all be AFC games, and you alternate that each year. Next year, it'd be the NFC. All 3 wild card games on Saturday, AFC. Those 3 winners, along with the team that received the bye in the AFC, we know by Saturday night what the matchups are for the divisional round. You play the 2 AFC divisional rounds the following Saturday. Everybody has the same amount of rest. You do the same on Sunday. 3 NFC wildcard games on Sunday. The 3 winners, along with the team that received the wild card, the bye, know who they're going to play right away on Sunday, and they play the following Sunday in the divisional round. Here's another twist they throw into it. The following week, you have the conference championship games. In this scenario, the AFC would have the conference championship game on Saturday, the NFC on Sunday. Give them each their own day, because oftentimes, like we saw last night, it wasn't a conference championship game, but the Buffalo game went long. It went into overtime, and then we're rushed to watch the Seahawks game against the 49ers. And if you're following that, we didn't even know that, Bo Nix ends up with a broken ankle. We don't really get to see the emotions raw from Josh Allen and Sean McDermott. Give them each their own day. They deserve it. And they would make more money doing that because the product would be longer. There'd be more screen time in this scenario.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's a good idea. It's a good suggestion, but you're not the commissioner, so it's not going to happen. So at the end of the day,
I can email them. I mean, here's the thing. You knock basketball.
You can email them all you want. Why don't you just sit there and sip on your body armor while I drink my green tea and we talk playoff football? But at the end of the day, John, that they're not the NFL, the NBA, and I'll throw MLB and the NHL into this as well. They're not sensible leagues. They do what they perceive to be sensible, but they're not. I agree with you. I think it's a great idea to play 3 and 3 and to rotate it by conference. But again, the NFL, their gluttony is legendary. If they could own every single day of the week, somehow they would do that. And that's what this is about. It has nothing to do with, giving the fans a great experience and figuring things out over the course of a weekend. It's how many nights can we be on where we can be the number one TV show on that night and we can control the ratings. And ultimately, that's all they care about because ratings drive advertising.
My scenario gave them an extra day. AFC Championship game on Saturday, NFC on Sunday. I gave them an extra day.
So you would split up the championship
games
absolutely.
As well.
Yeah, see, I hate that.
Day. Oh, no.
I hate that. Yeah, I hate that.
Why? I think because,
I hate that. I like that they're back-to-back.
Well, spread them out a little more because
I like the idea for wild card weekend. I don't like the idea beyond that.
Yeah, no, I would think it would be fantastic to have their own day. Then you have 2 weeks to get to the Super Bowl, so there's no advantage of having an extra day's rest when you have a 2-week build up to the Super Bowl. And again, how many times do we rush through overtime of a conference championship game, and next thing you know, we got to flip the channel and go right to the other conference championship game,
Well,
and you can't bask in all
it's not that hard to
drama.
do, man. You're sitting on your couch eating and watching football. You make it sound like it's some kind of a harrowing experience for you.
Well, the eating part is great. I mean, I'm all for that. So
yeah, of
let's
course
keep that up.
But at the end of the day, look, all of this stuff sounds good. Like I said, I'm not trying to pour cold water on your ideas here.
Well,
I'm just saying,
you
in the
poured
end,
a lot of cold water.
no,
on
I
that
don't
great
like
idea.
I don't like your NFC Championship idea. That I'm certain. But I just think, again, the NFL wants to be on as much as possible. They're never going to go for something like that. So, you know what? At the end of the day, all we can do is suggest it, and then it's up to the powers that be to make it happen. And we're not the powers that be.
The difference is Adam Silver, who I share a birthday with, the commissioner of the NBA. He's a year older than me, April 25th, by the way. Adam Silver and Al Pacino.
In case you guys want to send him gifts.
No,
at the end of the show, we'll give you Sap's address.
Well, I just think it's kind of ironic that Al Pacino wins his own lone Oscar playing a blind guy, and here I am. So I think that when you look at Adam Silver, he does respond on Facebook to people, including me. So I have a pipeline to Adam Silver. I have to work on some suggestions for him as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't care about the NBA enough to email him. So
no, that's
there
for
you
sure.
go.
We get that. We get that.
Yes. I mean, look, I love the Celtics, but I think the NBA and the NHL are the two worst leagues in North American sports. They couldn't be more disinteresting to most people. And I'm telling you, it's not just me. It's not the old white guys saying this. This is the reality, that they're not compelling enough. So
your
people
thoughts
don't
on
care.
MLS?
What?
Your thoughts on MLS?
Is that some kind of a disease, some kind of a disorder? What is
MLS?
MLS?
Major League Soccer.
I know. I'm kidding. Yeah. My thoughts, it's irrelevant. Now, those are my thoughts. Look, I live in town. I live 7 minutes from Gillette Stadium. They don't get crowds for those games. And you can open a new stadium in Everett. It's really not going to matter. Okay. You might get better crowds because it's in the city, and you might get the younger people that are into MLS. They'll go to the games. You might get the Hispanic population that's in the area. They might go to the games, but you're not going to get the families. Families aren't going to venture into Everett more than maybe once or twice a season to watch the Revolution. Look, MLS is what it is. It hasn't captured a market share. At the end of the day, it's there. People know that it exists, but people don't care about it. And look, I say it all the time. I mean, obviously the NFL drives the wagon, and I think Major League Baseball's starting to make a comeback again. I think that the NBA is too demographic based. I think that they are doing it all wrong. You already have the 18 to 35 demographic. You should be trying to capture the other demographics. I think they do a piss poor job of that with their stupid uniforms and the way they operate. And the things that they do, quite frankly, they disenfranchise the other demographics. And then the NHL is Canada's sport. I mean, the NHL will never be anything more than the fourth sport in this country. Mm-hmm. It's going to be big in certain markets: Boston, Toronto, Montreal, New York, Chicago. I'll give you. You want to throw in LA and now Miami with the success that the Panthers have had. Minnesota, but it's not going to be anything more than the fourth sport. The WNBA does better ratings than the NHL. That's all you need to know. Yep. And the WNBA is borderline unwatchable. So in the first 13 minutes here, I've pissed off about 50 different groups of people.
Including me, but I'll accept.
That's okay. You know how I roll. All right, let's talk football here. We filibustered enough. Patriots, Texans. Look, coming into this game, I think a lot of people look at this matchup, and the first thing that comes to mind, John, is the Texans pass rush, Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter. And it is one of the best pass rushes in the league. They do more with less in terms of pressure to pass rush ratio. They don't pressure a ton. They play a lot of too high. They really rely on those two guys and their defensive tackles to get consistent pressure. They also will play a lot of single high looks because they like to drop Jalen Petrie into the box, especially on first and second down. It's kind of the basis of this defense. D'Amico Ryans, remember, comes from that Pete Carroll tree that, where they play a lot of single high, a lot of man free, a lot of cover three. But Matt Burke, his defensive coordinator, does have an extensive background in too high coverages, so they do play a lot of that as well. Look, this might be the best defense the Patriots have seen all season up until this point. I don't think you can argue that. All that being said, as good as they are, you've seen glimpses of them struggling at times this season. Regular season finale, they give up 30 to the Colts, who are starting their third string quarterback in rookie Riley Leonard. So, yes, this defense is really good. Yes, they're talented. They can get after the quarterback. But if the Patriots can figure out a way to help out their tackles, and they can take advantage of certain things that you do against teams that have talented edge rushers, they should be able to move the ball and score some points against this defense.
Yeah, I mean, the Raiders put up 21 against Houston in week 17. And
Yeah.
Houston was still playing for something the last 2 weeks. They had a chance to win their division. If Jacksonville had lost to Tennessee in week 18, they would have been the division champs. So they were still playing. They gave up some points. There was a point in the middle of the season where this defense was impenetrable. It just was making Josh Allen look foolish. It was making every quarterback they faced look foolish. They're putting so much pressure on them. Now, you know this stuff better than me, and that's why I always kind of lean on you with this stuff. It seems like their pass rush is pretty basic, right? I mean, they rush 4. It's nothing too exotic.
They do a lot with line movement. They'll
Okay.
slant and angle. They'll run a lot of TE, ETT stuff. They do a lot with movement up front.
Okay.
But when it comes down to it, they'll play those wide techniques with those two, and they'll cut them loose and let them get up the field. And again, I think from an offensive perspective, as good as those guys are, you can take advantage of that type of a pass rush with your screen game, your 3-step game, your quick 5-step game. Your running back screen game today could be a big part of the plan because of their pass rush and the weather. It's obviously going to be a factor. It's already snowing. But you can slow that pass rush down. And one of the ways in my coaching career, and again, I've never coached in the NFL, so I'm not going to pretend like I have all the answers to the test here, but football's football at all 3 levels. I mean, you face good pass rushers in high school. You face them in college. They might not be Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, but they're still pretty good pass rushers for their level. All of that being said, one of the things I like to do against teams that have guys that can play up the field is I like to run at them. Mm-hmm. Run at a Will Anderson. Don't be afraid to get Will Campbell on him now. Don't be afraid to double him and scoop up to the second level. Don't be afraid to wham him, trap him, kick him out. Run at him. Okay, and that's how you slow a pass rusher that's that good down, really. You got to work to wear him down over 4 quarters. And there have been plenty of times, you know, in my high school career, for example, a guy that gave us a lot of trouble at King Philip was TJ Guy, who just declared for the NFL draft. Played at Mansfield High School, played at Michigan the last 4 years. He was a dude. Obviously, he went to Michigan. But one of the things we did against him is we looked at it one of 2 ways. We can either run away from him and allow him to make a bunch of plays from the backside, or we can make the decision to say, you know what? We're going to make him earn it. He's going to make his plays. He's going to split double teams. He's going to make plays in the backfield. He's going to make plays behind the line of scrimmage. But we can also potentially wear a guy like that down. Now, we didn't have a ton of success doing it, admittedly. I mean, the kid was a dude. But there were times when we got him thinking and we got him off his game a little bit. And yes, he probably won his fair share of battles as well. But my point is, when you're facing elite level pass rushers like this, it's okay to say on first down, second and short, third and short, we're going to run at the MFer and make them earn it. And I think if you're the Patriots today, establishing that running game early is going to be paramount. Running at him and running at Hunter and getting them to cool off a little bit in terms of getting up the field, it could help you later on in the game, especially in pass protection.
Quarterbacks don't like being on their ass. Pass rushers don't like being forced backwards. They like to go forward. They're aggressive. They want to make plays. If the offensive line is able to get a good push and push them back.
Remember one thing. They're not just pass rushers. So
no, true. Yeah, those 2 guys are
I know that the football fan gets hung up on that.
Right.
But and again, I know people are sensitive. People in the media, football fans are sensitive when coaches correct them or question their knowledge. So I'm going to be delicate here, and I'm not doing this to you. I'm saying in general because people are very sensitive about this. They're football players first. They have to be able to stack and shed against the run. They have to be able to take on double teams and split double teams. So this idea that they're strictly pass rushes, that's what they do best. But they better damn well be able today to line up and take on blocks and set an edge, because if they don't, the Patriots are going to run them out of there.
And the reason being that the Texans also have a really good rush defense. This is a defense that is
Yes.
solid
A
throughout.
very underrated part of their defense, and I don't think
Yeah,
enough people are talking about, John.
I think they're top 5 against the rush.
Yep.
And obviously when they stop the rush like that, now they're in passing situations, and then you've got Hunter, Anderson, and the rest of those boys going at it. That's where they get you in a difficult situation. That's why it's imperative the Patriots do run the football. I'd love to see them come out with the 6th offensive lineman.
I think you're going to see a lot of that
Yeah,
today. We've
absolutely.
been seeing a lot of it,
Yep.
but after talking to Thayer Mumford, and when I talk to Thayer, he loves it, and he wants to be on the field as much as possible. And I think it's one of those things where today's a good day for it.
Yeah.
Get Munford in the game, go 6-0 linemen, go 21, 22 personnel,
Yep.
and just line up, run a bunch of man gap stuff, and get after these guys. Don't shy away from them.
And then that opens up play action, which Drake May
Yeah.
is so good at.
Yes.
Kind of holds
Yes.
that pass rush back just enough for him to do what he has to do in the secondary. He's got his weapons going to be healthy today. So that's obviously where you start with. We talk about all these really great defenses. Denver has a really good defense, but Buffalo screwed that game up yesterday. They never punted.
Buffalo scored 30 points yesterday with 5 turnovers.
With 5 turnovers, right. They had 11 possessions, 5 turnovers, 3 field goals, 3 touchdowns. We saw Jacksonville go into Denver and hang 34 on them, right? So
that defense is overrated. I have thought that all year.
Way overrated. Great pass rush.
Houston and Seattle have better defenses.
Absolutely. Those are the 2 best defenses I've seen. It feels like Houston and Seattle have like 14 guys on the field.
And based on the way the Patriots are playing right now, I would say they have a better defense as well.
Than Denver? I can make that case. Yeah,
I think
can
so.
make that case.
I think they're better than Denver defensively.
Yeah. Buffalo ran all over them yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, if Josh Allen has an average day, they walk away with a 10-point win, and they're getting ready to hopefully come to Foxborough next Sunday. But, yeah, I think you could still do some things against the Texans' defense if you're able to run the football and start that play-action pass going. That's the marquee matchup, right? Because the Patriots are a top 5 offense. The Texans, we know, are one of the 2 best defenses in football, so that's going to be the matchup. The big thing, obviously, is pass protection. So what do you try to do to quell that pass protection, or to help that pass protection so you can quell that pass rush?
You can do the standard stuff. I mean, you can put the extra guy over there, and you can chip and check release. You can keep the extra guy in. You get creative with your personnel groupings now. Personnel grouping like 12 becomes more prominent now. You might get the back involved in the route concept and keep the tight end in. You can play the 2-on-1 game to Anderson's side where you have the tight end as a wing over there. You also send the back over there, slide away from them. There's different ways you can play it. But I mean, again, it's hard because you don't want to overemphasize it. And look, I get it. In the NFL, it's a 4-out concept league. They don't like to take guys out of the concept. So it's a difficult balance here for Josh McDaniels today. How much do I help my rookie left tackle? Specifically, remember, these guys have gone up against each other before. When Campbell was a freshman, Anderson was a senior.
Yeah.
They faced each other when Alabama played LSU. Anderson got a couple of sacks on him, but I also thought in that game, and I went back and rewatched it, and I know a lot of people, again, there's a lot of offensive line coaches on X. I know a lot of people talked about his quote-unquote struggles. He held his own. He held his own in that game. Because one of the things that makes Will Anderson a hard guy to handle one-on-one is he plays with such good get-off and pad level. He gets under your pads. And for a guy like Campbell, who's 6'6", he's a guy that, and I know people will point to the arm length because it's going to be forever a topic of conversation until they move him to guard eventually. But I do think one of the biggest things he needs to work on this offseason is getting stronger in his lower half. Because guys like that tend to get into you and under you. And a lot of them are bull rushes. As much as they want to win with get off and stab and swipe moves, they're also guys that if you engage them, they want to get under your chin and they want to bull rush you and dip and rip through. And so Will Campbell today is going to have to be able to hold up. He's going to have to be able to hold up in those points of engagement when he's one-on-one with them and they're engaged. He has to get heavy-legged, and he has to be able to stave him off, because if he doesn't, and Anderson is able to power through him and do it consistently, they're in for a long day. But it's a delicate balance. Again, if you're Josh McDaniels, yes, in certain situations, you're going to commit bodies to that side. But at the end of the day, you still want to get 3 and a check down out or 4 out. If you want to do that on a consistent basis, in some cases 5 out, then you're going to have to figure it out by situation, down and distance, and what you want to do in your protection calls.
Well, we saw Myles Garrett going for the sack record. He finally got it in Week 18. The week before, Pittsburgh was so adamant that he wasn't going to get the sack record that I think he was in their head and screwed their whole offense up. And to a less degree, Cincinnati the following week didn't want him to get the sack record. He finally got it in the fourth quarter, but they were so cognizant of Myles Garrett. Now, the problem is Myles Garrett.
Well, I also think they were cognizant of him because he's a damn good football player.
Oh, they even the players said that.
I think in their offensive line room and their offensive line coaches might have said, "Hey, we don't want this guy to get it against us." But I don't know if it was the team.
No, they talked after the game and said, "This is the way we have to deal with Myles Garrett because he'll wreck the game."
He's a
and
the
same thing with Will Anderson. And the thing I love so much about Will Anderson is the guy ever take a playoff. I mean, he's indefatigable. He's just constantly coming at you. And like you said, good against the run. He's good sideline to sideline. I mean, he's just a sensational player. I loved him at Alabama, and the more you watch him, he's one of the best players in this league. Danielle Hunter's a guy who didn't have a lot of sacks in college, but it's really grown as a player, and now is a double-digit machine year in and year out. So those are 2 guys you have to worry about. They also have one of the best cornerbacks in the league, and Derek Stingley Jr. He's sensational. I put him up there with any other cornerback in the league.
Ken Matthias checks in. What's up, gents? How are you feeling today with the Patriots against Houston? Will this be close? Yeah, I think it's going to be close. I know that it shapes up to be a potential blowout because of the weather, and I know people love to pretend that, these guys are coming up from the South. They're not used to this, blah, blah, blah. Well, neither are we. I mean, they're saying that today might be the first time in Boston that we've had over 6 inches of snow since 2022. So let's not act like we live in the North Pole, okay? So, I mean, I think it's one of those things where, look, I think it's a playoff game. You have to think that it's like any sport, right? When you think about playoffs in any sport, right? In hockey, the games are tight. They're tighter checking games. They're lower scoring games. In the NBA, there's more of an emphasis on defense and bench usage and everything else. In Major League Baseball, it's more about your bullpen and shortening the game and small ball and moving runners along and your defensive alignment. It's the same thing at football. Yeah, there's greater effort by the players. The games are typically closer. I mean, I know you had that Seattle game last night. That's an outlier typically. Yesterday's Buffalo-Denver game is more of a prime example of that. So I think for the Patriots to blow them out, Houston is just going to have to get off to a really bad start, kind of like San Francisco did last night, where they give up an early big play. They turn the ball over early. The Patriots take advantage of it, score, go up 7-0, 10-0, 14-0. Then between that and the weather, then it starts to become insurmountable. But if they can hang in there early, keep it close, and keep it close into the fourth quarter, yeah, they have a shot to win this thing. I'm going to hedge on it's a playoff game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, the defense is just so good. You question their offense. I mean, C.J. Stroud has regressed each of his first 3 years in the league. As a rookie, he looked like he was going to be among the top 6 or 7 quarterbacks in the league. He regressed in year 2, still got to the playoffs, been injured this year a little bit, and I think he's leveled off as a quarterback. I mean, he might come back in year 4, year 5, and get back into that discussion as a top 10 quarterback. I don't think he's there right now. And I also think with C.J. Stroud, this is with most quarterbacks, but he, especially, if you can hit him early, I think you can really get him off track. There's other quarterbacks that you hit early. Sometimes they get strengthened by that. It's almost like they gets them into the game. With C.J. Stroud, I think if you can plant him a couple of times or even one time early in the game, I think you get him off his mark. I mean, Pittsburgh hit him a few times on Monday night. Let's not forget, that game was 7-6 in favor of Houston in the fourth quarter. I mean, they scored 23 points in the fourth quarter. 2 defensive touchdowns contributed to that. So their offense did move the ball okay last week against Pittsburgh, but they didn't score a lot of points. And now they're playing without Nico Collins, who's their best offensive weapon.
Ken checks back in. He says, will the Patriots play a lot of zone or man today? What is the key you're looking for matchup-wise with Christian Gonzalez potentially covering the next man up behind Nico Collins? Well, I think they're going to play more man-to-man, and I think they'll blend some coverages as well. But I think you're going to see a lot of man. I think you're going to see a lot of cover zero, too. I think that they're going to – last week they blitzed at about a 45% rate. I think you're going to see the same thing this week. I would go after CJ Stroud. To your point, John, you got to hit him. You got to put him on his ass. You got to harass him. You got to get him out of the pocket and force him to throw on the run. They're going to be without Nico Collins, who's their best receiver. As far as who Gonzalez matches up with, I think the beauty of Collins being out for the Patriots is, and everything is coming up roses for the Patriots right now, by the way. You want to talk about having a horseshoe up your rear end. The Patriots right now appear to be the team that is possessing that horseshoe. I think now with Collins out, it gives you flexibility with Gonzalez where you can mix him and match him depending on down and distance and what personnel they're in. I would imagine you'll see him a lot on Christian Kirk today because I think Kirk had a big game last week against Pittsburgh. He's their best remaining receiver. Yeah, you got to worry about Dalton Schultz, but I think you can handle that matchup with Craig Woodson and Jalen Hawkins depending on formation and personnel. But I do think ultimately you're going to see them play a lot of man, a lot of cover one, a lot of cover zero. They're going to come after Stroud, and they're going to do this for two reasons. One, because they want to pressure him and throw him off his spot, but also they're going to want to flog gaps against Woody Marks in that running game because Marks has been pretty good for them. And Nick Chubb, while he may not be the back he was, he's a nice compliment to him. So that's the other thing here. You want to be able to account for every gap, but at the same time, you want to be able to get pressure on Stroud. And I think that's where Houston is at a distinct disadvantage. The Patriots have a clear quarterback advantage, but I think the other thing is you're spot on with Stroud's regression. And it's amazing to me because I loved him at Ohio State, and I loved him coming out. I love the vertical accuracy, the touch, the anticipation. He could really add and subtract on his ball. He does a great job layering throws. He's really gotten away from that. We saw it his rookie year. We saw less of it his second year. We saw less of it this year. He's got to get back to being that guy. I don't think it happens today, though. I don't think he's playing at a high enough level where he's going to lead them in here and lead them to a win. Unfortunately for them, I think this game comes down to their offense. Without Nico Collins, who's a tough matchup for any corner in the league, it's already hard enough to win. But your quarterback, even though you won last week, you didn't win because of him. You won because your defense was dominant. He's not playing at a high enough level, in my opinion, that he could lead them to a win today.
No, I remember his last game at Ohio State against Georgia. He lit up a team that was loaded with NFL players. He was sensational in that game. Georgia ended up winning, but he looked the part. And then he went into the 2023 NFL draft and was Bryce Young first, C.J. Stroud second. And after the first year, you're like, wow, Houston really got lucky that Carolina took Bryce Young first. Well, maybe there's a discussion now. I'm not a big Bryce Young fan. I don't like small quarterbacks, but the gap between those two guys isn't all that big. And who knows? Going forward, maybe Bryce Young is the better quarterback. That's another discussion for another day. And people will say, you hit C.J. Stroud, you hit any quarterback. There's different levels of that. He really seems to get skittish in the pocket when he gets hit. He'll start looking down at the pass rush. He won't keep his head up. He'll get very antsy in the pocket, moving prematurely. That's what you got to have him to get him off his spot. The problem with Houston's offense, John, their problem is they're 21st in rushing, which makes no sense when you have a team that's built up with that defense. You would think they'd have a good rushing attack, and that kind of go hand in hand.
Well, they don't always complement each other.
Well,
though. It depends on the construction of your roster.
Okay, but
it's the norm, but not always, especially in the NFL. It's more the norm in high school and college.
Well, I'm thinking too, though, is that you're playing with the lead a lot, especially late in the season. They were getting off to good starts, getting the lead, and they still ran the football at a below average level. So, and their offensive line is an issue, and they have a new offensive coordinator this year. So there's some changes that have taken place. Well, maybe their offense will be better next year in the second year. If Nick
it's
Haley
a familiar name in Nick Haley. And by the way, I tweeted this out last week, and I did a story on it as well this week as part of our preview coverage. There's a lot of Patriot ties to this Texans organization. A lot of familiar names are back in town this weekend. Of course, Nick Caserio, their GM. Steve Cargile, who's in their front office, was the director of scouting for the Patriots here. Obviously, Nick Haley's their offensive coordinator. Cole Popovich, who was one of the Patriots' two offensive line coaches after Dante Scarnecchia. He's their O-line coach, Jerry Shuplinski, who coached quarterbacks. He's on the staff. Doug Marone's son is on their staff. And then you got the player connections. Obviously, Miles Bryant. Shane Vereen works with them in their player development department. But in terms of the players, you got Trent Brown, Miles Bryant. So there's a lot of connections here between players and coaches and staff. It's a heavy Patriot flavor. I mean, they know who the Patriots are and what they're about. And by the way, Josh's brother, Ben McDaniels, is also on the staff. So a lot of tie-ins here between these two franchises.
And Mike Vrabel coached in Houston.
Yeah.
I mean, his first NFL job was as linebacker coach in Houston, then became the defensive coordinator. And after 1 year as the DC, becomes the head coach in Tennessee and does a great job there. So, yeah, there's even that connection. The connection that interests me the most is Nick Caserio and Josh McDaniels, because they're really close friends, right? I mean, I think they played in college together. Or I just know they're really, really close friends. How much does that impact what that Nick Caserio may know what Josh's offensive game plan might be? Just have a little intel that, because he's so knowledgeable of the person as much as the coach.
I'm sure that there's some stuff there. I mean, Nick Haley will also conceptually run some of that stuff offensively as well. I'm sure this week the Patriots saw a lot of what they've done throughout this season on film as well, because what Haley did in Houston is he blended a lot of what he did here with what he picked up in LA with McVay. So kind of sort of what the Patriots have done here with Josh McDaniels and Thomas Brown. So there'll be some carryover. Conceptually, there'll be some things here that the Patriots run that they will see on will have seen on film this week as they prepared for this game. But I don't know. I mean, coaches change. Every offseason you add and subtract to your playbook. Your philosophy changes. It changes based on personnel, what you have, what you don't have. So, yes, will there be some stuff that they see on tape that they're like, oh, yeah, we run that, or, oh, yeah, we know about that. Here, let me go over to Coach Rhines and Coach Burke and give them a heads up on why they do this and when they might do it. But I think a lot is also made of that. I mean, you don't build your game plan around intel. You know, it helps. Certain aspects of your game plan you can build around it, but you don't build your entire plan over it. So let's put it this way. If Houston wins today, it won't be because Caserio spent a half hour with Ryans and Burke and went over certain concepts. I mean, again, I'm sure they've had conversations, and I'm sure that some of their plan is geared towards stopping those things, but it's not the entire plan.
Right. I mean, it's still going to come down to the players, obviously, and whatever coaching adjustments you make, but obviously the players. If CJ Stroud is out like, what he was 2 years ago, now we've got an interesting ball game, because he can match Drake May the way he played 2 years ago. He just hasn't been doing it the last two seasons. But if he shows up today with that type of ability, maybe you got a different type of game. So obviously the players have a lot to say.
All right. What are three keys to the game for you today, John?
Run the football. And I say this like I'm, Bill Cowher here, who that's the only thing he says on CBS is you got to run the football more. And it's what I sound like today. Absolutely run the ball more. Yeah, just get rid of it. We don't need quarterbacks there. Prima donnas that make way too much money.
They do. I agree.
So, yeah, okay. So I think running the football, again, can kind of, hold back that pass rush a little bit, opens up play action. I like when they throw out of, 12 personnel or 13 personnel, and teams are doing more of that, and we've seen that in the playoffs, because I think it kind of surprised the defense, but it also, you get your tight ends involved, and we know Hunter Henry is very good, or you get your backs involved, and we know both of the Patriots running backs can catch and run and make plays. So run the football is effective. On defense, again, hit CJ Stroud, get him early. This way he get him out of sorts. And again, I think in terms of stopping the Texans passing game, that's going to be a key thing. By hitting him early, getting him out of sorts, you don't want him getting into a rhythm early, because any quarterback that gets into a rhythm early can carry that for a period of time. So those would be the three periods that I would look at mostly in analyzing this game.
All right, a couple minutes left here. Old man Willem, good friend of the show, checks in. Great to hear from you. I hope the weather's treating you well in Connecticut. He says excited. Biggest game in 4 to 6 years. Adam checks in. Thanks for checking in, Willem. Appreciate you, man. Adam checks in. He says, good morning, fellas. Fingers crossed on turnovers. Clean game equals a win. Adam, we agree with you, man. Look, and the weather will play a factor in this, but if you can take care of the football, we saw how much it cost Buffalo yesterday, but if you can take care of the football and play a clean game in terms of penalties and fundamentals, they should take care of business in advance of the AFC Championship game again. Adam, thanks for checking in, man. Always great hearing from you. And Ken checks back in. He says, Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter will be a tough task for the Patriots offensive line. Can this team contain both of them, having Wilson and Campbell on Drake's blind side? Well, we did talk about this earlier, Ken. Yes, they can, but they're going to get theirs, man. They're good football players. It's just When you go into games and you're playing talented dudes at any level of football, you know that those guys are going to get theirs. The beauty of football, more so than any other sport, is the coach impacts the game more than any other sport.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have an impact on the game, but again, as I said earlier, it's a balancing act. If you're going to commit two guys to a side and you're going to gear your entire protection plan this week to Will Anderson, then Danielle Hunter's going to get his. So they put you in a bind. The key is staying ahead of the chains, okay? Converting third downs, keeping it to short and medium downs, converting those downs. You can't get in a second and medium too often, or third and medium, or second and long, or third and long. When you get behind the chains, that's when teams like this can cut those guys loose and let them play up the field. And as long as the Patriots can stay ahead of the chains, they'll be fine. Your screen and draw game will be big today, because against pass rushes like this, you want to take advantage of that aggressiveness. And again, as I said earlier, heavy emphasis on man gap running schemes in the running game today, because I would look to beat the shit out of these guys. I would lead block on them. I would down block on them. I would trap block them. I would wham block them. Make them earn it. The weather's going to be a factor. It's going to be cold. It's going to be wet. It's going to be snowy. The conditions suck. Run at them and wear their asses down. And I'm telling you, it will pay dividends in the fourth quarter. So as the great Bill Cowher says, run the football. No, I'm kidding. But I am serious about the running game, and specifically running at these guys today can pay dividends. Ken, thanks for checking in, man. We do appreciate it. All right, John, final prediction here. How do you think this one plays out ultimately?
Patriots 23, Texans 13. They win by 10. It's a comfortable win. Maybe it's a 7-point game late. They tack on a field goal to give them a 2-score lead. And the other thing I should add is, and we saw it last week with Drake May. We love Drake May. He's phenomenal. But he's got to take care of the football a little bit better, because this game can flip on a strip sack. He loses the ball in the pocket. Danielle Hunter or Will Anderson picks the thing up and scoops and scores, or gives the Texans the ball at the Patriots 20-yard line. They're that good, those guys. So that's where he has to be really careful with the football. Interceptions we don't like either, but sometimes that happens. A tip ball, a receiver runs the wrong route, you read it wrong, what have you. But the part that he really has to clean up, and that's one of the last things he's going to have to clean up to become truly a great quarterback, is being much more ball secure in the pocket.
Yeah, I think the Patriots win 27-13. I think they win by 2 scores. I think this game is close early. They pull away in the fourth quarter. My biggest concern is May taking care of the ball. Yeah. You just hit the nail on the head, especially in the pocket. It's the biggest weakness of his game. I'm not as bullish on him as you yet in terms of things he needs to work. He has other things he needs to work on. His vertical accuracy is as good as his arm talent is, and his ball placement can be on vertical down the field routes. I do think his intermediate accuracy needs to be better. It's something he's got to work on this offseason. And intermediate routes are going to be a big part of this plan today, because if they play a lot of too high, you need to attack the middle of the field, split that cover 2, start to high-low them. You need to be able to do those things. So I do think that he's got to not only take care of the ball in the pocket, but on those intermediate throws today that are going to be there. If you layer your routes properly in your concept, they're going to be there. He's got to be able to make those throws. He can't just make those throws when the receiver becomes uncovered and settled. So, I mean, I think, again, to your point, ball security for him is paramount today.
My other question about the Texans defense, because they don't send extra rushes all that often.
Right? They do. They just don't at a higher percentage.
Not at a high rate. Right. They're not going to just.
Well, I think they will today. I'll tell you one thing. If I'm them, I come after him. And I overload. I overload both sides, because I'd attack both Morgan Moses and Will Campbell, but specifically that left side. I would bring double daggers. I would bring blitzes from depth. I would come after him on that side. I would do a lot of my TEETT stuff on that side. I'd blitz the shit out of him on that side, especially when the ball's in the middle of the field or on the right hash. I'd come after him. I'm sorry, on the middle of the field or the left hash. If they're going to give me a short corner, I'm coming after him. I would bring spot pressure as well.
I just look at it, if they're rushing 4, which makes their defense so spectacular, is they put pressure with 4 rushers. That also means they have 7 players dropping into coverage at different levels, obviously. But that you saw that the other night against Pittsburgh. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers wants to get rid of the ball quickly. He did, and it just seemed like there were 3 Texans at the ball as soon as the Pittsburgh Steelers receiver caught it. They swarm. They have that type of ability. They don't take plays off. They're just a pain in the ass to go against because they are talented, they're well coached, and they're highly motivated. D'Amico Ryans, who I think is kind of like Mike Vrabel of the South, has that team playing for him especially.
Yeah. No, he's done a good job there, but ultimately, I just don't think they could score enough to win this game. And every defense is good, but they all break at every level. Because as I've told my guys in almost 30 years of coaching, no team in the history of football has 11 good players on either side of the ball, especially on defense. So I say it all the time. Everybody is hiding somebody. You just need to find the turd and attack them. So I think at the end of the day, there are going to be guys there that the Patriots can attack today schematically on offense. Get after them because no team in the history of football has had 11 good players on defense. So there you go. Find the turd, isolate them, and attack them. And that's a good key to victory usually when you take advantage of the matchups that you have. So
you sound like Bill Cowher.
Yeah, I know. All right, John, great job.
Sergeant Slaughter himself.
Yeah. Well, great job today as always. And hopefully we do this again next week. Of course, if we do it next week, that means the Patriots are in Denver playing in the AFC Championship game. And quite frankly, after the news last night with Bo Nix, if they take care of business today, they're in pretty good shape to get to yet another Super Bowl. And who would have thought that a year ago? I think a year ago we would have taken an 8-9 win season and progress. This team is on the doorstep of potentially playing for another Super Bowl, and that's crazy. All right, that'll do it for this week's episode of the Patriots Pulse Preview Show. For John Sapichetti, I'm John Sirenitas. Hopefully, we're back with you next week. Until then, enjoy the game today and stay safe out there. It's going to be slick. Take care of yourselves if you're going to the game. Until next week, peace.